Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, the Zen Sams. Now, up next, in about 2 minutes, featured in our Business and Buzz segment, we have returning contributor Kyle Wool and his good friend David Hyrck, partner at Duane Morris Law Firm, that's DuaneMorris.com, joining us. Now, today we're going to be chatting about how to choose a charity and avoid getting scammed this gift-giving season. Now, charitable donations are an incredible gift anytime you have room in your budget to help those in need. It's wonderful to see people being proactive about donating during the end of year holiday season, but no matter what time of year it is or the reason for your giving, it's important to choose a charity wisely. Unfortunately, not all organizations are legitimate, nor do they all use funds as they promise. When you give to an organization, you might envision your personal check being directly spent on pet food, cancer meds, clean water, some specific action that the charity performs. But the truth is, your donation could go towards administrative expenses, a fundraising budget, or even a staffer's paycheck. Now, while each of these costs are typically of most organizations, nonprofit or not, there should be a fair share going toward the organization's mission as well. The BBB Wise Given Alliance, which is a watchdog organization that tracks how charitable groups use funds, believe that at least 65% of an organization's expenses should be spent on its missions, and no more than 35% should go towards fundraising. Remember that ultimately you're trying to forward a cause or help those in need. Although it may seem like a lot of work, it's important to vet the legitimacy and effectiveness of a charity before making a donation. Now, let's combine reputable charities and celebrity attorneys. And well, what do you get? Aside from David Hyrck joining me in just a sec, well, since people remember the faces and names of the attorneys who have represented celebrity clients or clients in high profile cases, I thought it would be very fitting to chat legitimacy and whatnot. And once your client roster deals in the VIPs, it's like a domino effect. To help you not get scammed by a fake charity this holiday season and still feel good about your generous donation is celebrity duo Kyle Wool, president of wealth management at Revere Securities. He's knowledgeable across the board with investment banking and managing portfolios. And joining us now is David Hyrck, head of international business and structuring at Duane Morris. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Now, David, Duane Morris offers legal services across the board, basically, and you advise clients on the tax and businesses' approach of structuring their investments. You have a lot of knowledge when it comes to cross-border investments. You represent all forms of celebrities to global companies, right down to individuals. And you are a valued and trusted advisor and mentor, essentially, to many trusts and global charities. What did you say to this Lady Gaga Born This Way Foundation, where back in 2011, Lady Gaga founded Born This Way Foundation? Its mission was to basically empower youth and inspire bravery. And by the end of the whole fiasco, the total bogus expenses for 2012 had reached $1.85 million, and the company went bust. And many have accused Lady Gaga of treating her charity as a vanity project and for using the Born This Way Foundation to promote her own career. What do you say to celebrities in this capacity?
You know, I can't really comment on the specifics of that situation, but, you know, I'm very cautious, not just with celebrities, but anyone that goes into the charity world, because it is a difficult world to manage. And, you know, it's a business like any other. They have to pay their employees. They have to spend money to raise money. And so you have to be very cautious about how you go about that. I mean, things could get carried away. So you have to have the proper, you know, infrastructure internally on a day-to-day basis. Is also a board that's overseeing what's going on. So it's the structure of the organization is really critical to some of these outcomes. And it is not an easy thing to manage. So without the right support, it's not difficult to get into these situations.
Yes, exactly. And to piggyback off that, not specifically, we're not, commenting on this particular
Yeah.
foundation, but in general, that particular foundation had taken in like 2.5 million, but only gave out one $5,000 grant in 2012. And the expenses for 2012 in this particular case had reached 1.85 million. A lot of people were like, well, where's this money going? So to your point, it was probably not structured properly. And at the end of the day, when you don't have the proper structure, well, then that's where the cookie crumbles, right?
Yeah, many times.
Kyle, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, Kyle, listen, this is a very interesting one. Now, back in 2004, Lamar Odom founded the charity Kathy's Kids, and the charity's mission was to fund cancer research and to help young people who were suffering from the disease. And since the inception, the charity has raised 2.2 million, but as of its 2011 tax return, the charity was $256,000 in debt, clearly mismanaged. Now, when a charity, and we're talking about we're talking about the Khloe Kardashian and Lamar Odom, Kathy's Kids Foundation, right? Now, when a charity takes in all these funds, one would ask, can a nonprofit make investment? Because to fulfill their purpose, they need resources, including money. Therefore, clearly, nonprofits can engage in legal means to earn money. But what's your take when a charity comes to you to set up an account, and what type of investments are you looking at for them?
Well, I think every charity is a little bit different. And one of the things as a fiduciary myself and a financial advisor to various charities and philanthropic endeavors is we have to know the purpose of the charity. But typically most charities, they would love, and it's difficult right now with a very low interest rate environment that we're in, but they would love to make enough off of the interest off the portfolio to meet their obligations. So typically in a charitable account, we're not going to be taking on high risk and investing in startups or small cap stocks. We'd be looking at a diversified fixed income portfolio to throw off anywhere between, let's say, 3 to 5%. Obviously, rates are going up a little bit, so that helps. When rates are at zero, it makes it very difficult. But to throw off enough of a percentage return in fixed income and to not have too much volatility to support the charity and to support the obligations and grants that they have to give out.
Sounds like great advice, my friend, and that's why we always have you on the show. Now I'm going to throw this one back to David. And again, not specifically commenting on these charities, but using these charities as models because they are high profile. Back in 2007, Kanye West founded the self-titled charity, the Kanye West Foundation, with this, grand mission to significantly reduce high school dropout rates. And 4 years later, the charity shut down after it was discovered that of the $570,000 raised in 2011, zero went to the charity. All of the money was used for administrative costs. And the last reported charity contribution were grants for $563 in 2009, despite raising more than $200,000 that year. Now, David, you serve on the board of directors of the Amy Winehouse Foundation, and you were chairman of the Happy Hearts Fund, founded by fashion model Petra Nemkova. You served as a co-chair of the board of directors of the Lang Lang International Music Foundation, as does Kyle. And you've just recently joined more boards, the director of the board of directors on the Mariano Rivera Foundation. Now, David, how do you go about auditing these charities your clients are going to work with, and what is the due diligence process? Because this is getting in bed with, completely merging two brands, essentially.
Well, I mean, there's public information available. There's, the 990s that are required to be filed, and those are public documents that you can take a look at, where the funds have come from and where they've been used. Most credible charities are going to have an auditor, right? They're an accounting firm that, I would want to talk to immediately. I would want to be connected to somebody who's on the board that I know, hopefully, or that my clients know, to make sure, to understand the programs. I would even go on the ground with them before I, got real involved to see, what they're actually doing, roll up your sleeves and go look at one of their projects or go look at one of their prospective projects, all those kinds of things. So if you're really dealing with, a charity that's doing good, those kinds of things should be put in place. There's board committees that you can talk to, the audit committee, you can talk to the management committee. There are all sorts of ways to vet these charities.
Interesting. I guess it's like looking under the hood like you would in any business. I do think that at the end of the day, this is the due diligence and the responsibility that one would have to assume to get involved with any kind of charity or give money to these, organizations. You have to be really, really careful. Now, I was going to piggyback off of this and give it to Kyle, because one could encounter a fake charity at any time of the year, but they tend to become more common during times of increased giving, such as during natural disaster relief efforts, end of hurricane season, so to speak, or at the end of the year. And false charities are also among the most common tax scams around, the filing season. So it's best to be aware of the signs of a fake charity before giving money. What, Kyle, do you recommend people consider from the financial perspective in terms of giving an insane amount of money at the end of the year to these charities?
I think it's the due diligence process you should always look at, whether it has to do with investing into a public company or donating money to a charity. You want to see who's the CEO, who's the president, who's the person actually making the decisions, what their track record is. But more importantly, you want to see who the board of directors are. And I think most of the charities that David and I are involved in together, you have someone like David with a very strong legal background. You'll have someone like myself with a financial background. You'll typically have someone with an auditing background. When you have people like that come from reputable firms, you can feel much more comfortable than, let's say, some of these quote unquote charities that you mentioned earlier, which might just be some basketball players or some celebrities that have not sat on other charity boards except for their own before. So I think having a team of professionals with diverse backgrounds makes a huge difference. But I would also say it's very important to do some research on the charity. There are great charities out there, tremendous track records like the St. Jude Foundation, Shiners, and things of that nature, that very wealthy people, powerful people have continued to make donations year in, year out because of their track record of making sure 75, 85, 90% of the funds get to where they need to get to go where they need to go.
Yes, extremely important. You and David are saying the exact same thing, in very parallel advice context, so to speak, from the financial perspective. And of course, David, being the lawyer that he is from the very, due diligence reserve perspective. Now, David, very quickly, there's just about a minute left here. The most successful celebrities include the most successful charities include celebrities, and they kind of merge. Is there a direct liability, in essence, with the celebrity in the charity? In essence, is there an arm's length relationship that an ambassador or a celebrity can have with the respective charity to safeguard them if, so say, the charity goes scandalous?
Well, I mean, I don't, legal, let's put legal aspects aside. I mean, there's the reputation, right? I mean, the celebrities, if the celebrity's name is on the charity, the celebrity's always going to be tied to the charity in some respect. Legally, maybe not, but from a public perspective, yes. But I suppose there are ways to separate legally the celebrity from the charity. But
I guess what I wanted to know is, these celebrities, are they being held responsible and or accountable for, the fallouts of these charities that they have, constructed that went belly up, so to speak, and this money just went to where? So a deep, dark hole. But, yeah, it was more about, is there an accountability level with these celebrities and these charities?
Well, depends on what their position is with the charity. But in many cases, yes.
Got it.
The answer is yes.
There you go. So we always have to cross all our T's and dot all our I's, guys. Well, listen, thank you both for being on this segment. Business and Buzz is always more exciting when we have Kyle Wool joining us. So thank you so much. And he always brings the most interesting guests. David Hyrck, thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome speaking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Zen.
You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this. That was Kyle Wool, president of wealth management at Revere Securities, along with his good friend, David Hyrck from Duane Morris LLP.